Yeah, I was making records. I made a record, quite a famous record with Andy Partridge from XTC.
Yeah.
Called The Greatest Living Englishman, which a lot of middle-aged men in America like and argue about. And the other thing, I've only got one eye, so that works.
Yeah. Welcome to Digging, Martin Newell. You are a musician and poet from England, but more specifically Wivenhoe, Essex.
Correct.
Where we are today.
Yes.
You've been making music pretty prolifically since the 1970s, but
yes,
for a while, in between the 70s and now, you didn't quite amass the large audience that you have today.
I didn't think there'd ever be a large audience for what I did.
Well, it certainly is now.
Yes, apparently, but my manager keeps telling me, and I just pretend that I don't, that I'm still the indie kid.
I think some people would describe you as sort of a cult musician. How does that sit with you?
They've said something very similar to me. I sometimes in the street I hear that word, yes.
What people just come up to you and say?
You're a cult, yes. That's exactly what they say.
But throughout your life, you've always had other things going on. You've had various jobs and hobbies, passions, interests, life outside of music. The
only other jobs I've done, really, or for any length of time, outside of music, have been kitchen portering, which I loved, because you meet a bunch of other sort of weirdos who are on their way somewhere else, and gardening, which I was brought up to, really.
So you were taught to garden as a kid?
Well, I learned it because I used to stay with my granddad, an old bus driver during the holidays, and I used to love working down the garden with him, you know. He'd get me shinning up a horse chestnut tree. He made a rope ladder for me to get up there, and I'd be up there sort of astride the thing, taking his branches off in the early winter and saying, "Have him off, Corker, have him off." And there was a bush that he used to call a ringo, because I'd cut it like a Beatle haircut. It was a hawthorn bush that was slightly misshapen. I'd shape it into a profile. You know, I'd be about 11 or something like that. So I thought nothing about the beat, so I go, and that's what I liked. I was more of a horticultural assassin. I liked pruning things.
And that's what we're going to do today, isn't it?
Yes, we're going to do a bit of pruning, yeah.
So we're in Wivenhoe, which is the place you call home, and we're in specifically a garden that you used to look after, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. This whole garden, it goes down a slope. It was Bellevue Road. It used to be orchards. Oh. So it's kind of appropriate that this is a rather misshapen little apple tree, but I love apple trees. And
what kind of apple tree is this, do you know?
I don't actually, but it's a dwarf of some sort, and it's not been well treated. The lilac has grown up here, and like I said to Hilary, she's let it grow up, but she's got a different agenda for these lilac bushes. I've
pruned an apple tree before, but only under the tutelage of my dad, who's the apple tree pro. So you're going to have to...
With apple trees, with a proper apple tree, that you don't want it, you want a sort of a lollipop, but you ought to be able to throw your hat up through it, boy. You know, it doesn't need to be all cluttered at the top. Okay, so do you think I can be quite ruthless with this then, just chop? No, because this is a poor wounded creature that's never going to do quite well, but I would not like to see it go. Look, see where the old fruit's not come to much this year, and it's atrophied. I'm going to take a bit. I'm going to take a bit. I've been dying to have a go at this one. Okay, go on. And I don't know how far it's dead back, so I'm going to see if there's any promising buds, which there aren't. But I'm going to do an experimental cut here. This saw is not mine, and it's not been attended to. What my granddad taught me to do with pruning was to make an undercut when you're doing something like that. Yeah. So you make an undercut, and then you don't get horrible peeling of the bark. So did your granddad teach you everything that you know about gardening? No, my dad taught me a bit. He was a very keen gardener, but he was a military gardener. Right. So some soldiers don't particularly tend their gardens very much when they're only there for a year, but my dad used to immediately get cracking on it. Right. And oh, look, I think that's still alive there, up to there at least. It looks clean. Just having a look at the inside. Well, that's good. Okay, that's job number one done. All right, but Martin, so I'm just going to... I've stolen the secateurs. Is that right? I wonder where they were. So I've stolen secateurs. I guess I'll just give these a little bit of a chop, the ones that I know can come off. You worried about this? You don't trust me? Well, make sure when you do it, like if you come around here... Yeah. See, this looks pretty good here. I would say take that there and give it a nice little diagonal cut. Like that? Yeah, give it a diagonal cut because we know this is going to come good. Okay. And if it's diagonal, it won't it gives the rain less chance if there is a bit of rock to get in there. That's what I was told.
That sounds smart to me. And
yeah, but it looks neater as well. It looks like a professional's done it.
Right, I'm going to give you these back and
Good.
let you have a go.
Get all insecure. I'm not going to go too heavy on it, because some of these buds are perfectly healthy.
I want to address, because for people listening, they're probably wondering, what's this noise that's going on in the background? Can you tell me, what's this banging that we're hearing?
There's a team of soldiers out looking for me at the moment, and they found somebody who looks a bit like me. No, there's firing range out there. We're near Colchester, which is a military base, which means we'll be at the epicentre of a nuclear war if Putin never decides to stick one on us. And they practice shooting rifles there. And sometimes a helicopter comes over as well, but they really are looking for us. Yeah.
And how long did you work as a gardener for?
Oh, well, I've been doing it on and off for large chunks of my life, but there was a period between, say, about 1986 and 1992, where although I was allegedly making records and just get some of it.
I'm just going to get some of this back. There's some of this lilac back. Yeah, lovely. Sorry, you were saying you were allegedly making records and
yeah,
music.
I was making records. I made a record, quite a famous record with Andy Partridge from XTC.
Yeah.
Called The Greatest Living Englishman, which a lot of middle-aged men in America like and argue about, and some of them even don't like the idea that I was involved in it at all, because they love Andy Partridge. And the other thing, I've only got one eye, so.
Come on, you got
works.
it. Yeah, lovely. Yeah. Lovely. I love it.
I'll just get it all down to roughly that height, and if it comes up bushier, that's great. But it's very delicate, you know. I mean, look how skinny it is.
Yeah, it needs a gentle touch.
And the other thing, you don't want any cross branches. There's all atrophied stuff on there.
Yeah.
Beasties will get into that.
I have to say, I love pruning. It's one of my favourite jobs in the garden. I like.
We could have chosen something you could have been a bit more vicious with, but I haven't.
That's all right.
We've found this.
So Martin, set the scene. You're working as a gardener. You're making music.
Yeah.
What kind of, maybe for people who are less familiar with your music, you were releasing what is now pretty acclaimed and sort of iconic 4-track recorded.
Yeah, this is very strange. There's one of the tracks. It's called Only a Shadow. It's had something like, I don't know, 13 million streams.
Yeah.
On one platform. And there's another one that's been used in a Hollywood film.
Yeah.
And when I made these things, that's probably about the second or third one I'd done. Midnight Cleaners is the one. It's nobody was interested. People thought I was mad. But we made this record.
Is this the prog rock band?
Yeah, we made this record and the enemy slaughtered it. 2.5 months after we sent the record, so he sat on it. He just found something that he could slag off because, as we know, it's one of my favourite sayings. The critics build their career ladders out of the smashed-up remains of better artists' work. I used to call them the eunuchs at the orgy, but most I call them most fucking parasites.
Well, the music press.
Yes, mostly. But the thing is, the music press have gone. I'm still here.
How old were you when that?
How
old were you when that review came out?
I was 23 or 24, and I came home to find my girlfriend had left, the cat was ill, someone had been using a flat, and I was just a bit upset. I came home with no money, and somebody in the doorway, someone from a rival band, said, "Oh, Zap," because that was my name. He said, "You seen that review in the enemy?" He said, "They've reviewed my record." He said, "Yeah, I won't rush." I went to see it, and I read this thing in a supermarket with my tenner cat food and my no money and my lost girlfriend, and I cried.
Of course you bloody cried.
And I have never forgotten them for that.
After you received that review and you had this kind of, I don't know, low point in your life, did you think, oh, maybe this music biz isn't for me, this kind of public-facing career? My dad's words echoed in my head. If you can't take a joke, you shouldn't have joined. No, I didn't. What I did was I breathed in, I cleaned the place up, I got the cat to eat something, I tidied up, I looked at myself, and I went back 2 days later for washing the plates of the bourgeoisie. So you go back to washing dishes, but then you continue making music throughout the 80s.
Yeah, but I left that band. That was the beginning of it. I thought they were a great band. They were like a family, but they weren't really into recording, not like I was.
Right.
I've just always been into recording. I'd had a TC630 sound-on-sound machine for many years, and it was before the Porter studio, and I was making my own little demos, and I had been mucking about a tape recorder since I was 12. But I liked home recording. I liked being in charge of it. right from the very start, when I was 15, I thought, if I could clone myself, if there were 4 of me, I could form a really good band because I'd always do what I wanted instead of having to tell people what to play and what harmonies to put in and when to stop playing.
And when do you write the lyrics after you've made the instrumental, or is it all kind of a process?
The tune always comes first. I'm really, in here somewhere, is a Rodgers and Hammerstein Trying to Get Out. I love those songs. Yes, as you said, I am a romantic. I love those songs. These are the things that get me in, and things like My Funny Valentine and I know the songs from great musicals and the Beatles. I like things that are popular. Pop songs that are popular, that have nice tunes.
Is there any more that you want to chop off this front bit before we go? Because we're going to go and have a little wander around Wivenhoe and see some other things that you've done, which I can't wait for. I've never been here before and I've wanted to come for a long time.
It's a lovely place.
Okay.
I'll start talking like Gardner and then the accent will come back and I'll be saying, cross old weather, don't make it, mate, when it's mine what I want to do it, ain't Neil. So we're on Alma Street, and this, on the left here, is Alma the cat, which I carved probably back in the late 80s.
Wow, so this is Alma...
But the current chap who owns the place kept it up, and he's done a really good job of it as well. He's even followed the lines so that you can see the rest of the hedges are all got this what the French call a rondeur on them. It's normally applied to a great-looking middle-aged woman, but a rondeur, a certain rondeur. But you can apply it to hedges as well, and I do.
So, for the listeners, we're looking at Alma the cat, which is a privet hedge, about 8 foot long.
Yes, more like 10, I would say, and nose to tail, possibly even longer than that. We had whiskers here. You can see a gap in here, and that's where there were whiskers, but they kept getting knocked off by passing trucks.
Right. Would you say this is sort of central Wivenhoe, where we are now? Yeah,
but it's the core of Wivenhoe, is where we're going, because it was around the church, because Wivenhoe was built around its church.
I was going to say, are you a religious man?
I'm religious about nature, and I think most of the country is. And I work alongside Christianity, of course, because C of E is basically benevolent, isn't it? If a little sort of wishy-washy at times, but better that than extreme. However, when people worship nature, but they don't call it "I'm going out to worship nature," they call it angling, or walking, or cycling, or rowing, or something like that. Or bird spotting. They don't call it worship, but that is what it is. And if you take it away from the English people, then that's when you've taken their soul away, really. So that's got to be allowed, I think. Have you always been an outdoors lover? Yes. No, I like it indoors sometimes.
For God's sake, Martin.
Okay.
Let's go down to the river. Come on.
Yeah. We were on Alma Street there, but it's an L-shaped street, and these were a mixture of fishermen's cottages, but some of them are rather better appointed. They've got these Georgian porticos. They're a small version of it, though, you know.
And let's go down here to the river. That looks beautiful.
Yeah.
So you were saying as well earlier when we were talking that you feel you're a bit of a romantic.
I probably am, underneath all the filthy, smutty jokes and all the rest of it. Yeah, I am, or else I wouldn't be a songwriter, would I? It's a very romantic place, I think. I also feel I belong here, and belong in this part of England. East Anglia is this, God, the anti-Brexiters will hate this, but East Anglia is like this giant buttock pointing defiantly at Europe. But it is actually, it's a very lovely place in every way.
Do you feel that would you describe yourself as patriotic?
Patriotic? The only time I get patriotic is about pop music, really, because I think we do, for a tiny island that's very cramped, we've just come up with such great music.
What pop music do you get patriotic about?
English pop music.
But who specifically? Who's your favourite?
Well, I actually, what did I come up on? I came up on the Beatles, the Hollies. I just tends to like northern bands, really. I like northern English bands because I lived in the north when the Beatles were breaking. I lived in Chester and near Liverpool. My dad was stationed there. It was the Beatles. I just remember those rainy northern streets and the Hollies and the Beatles tended to write songs that felt to me like that, and I've never got it out. You know, I live in England. I feel I've been here for hundreds of years, and so I can't write. I'm not into Americana. I respect it, but when I see people people from perfectly good middle-class suburban backgrounds, you know, sitting on bales of straw and playing banjos and in accents that feel like they've been on a chain gang of having done a 10 stretch in some prison in America. And they think it's authentic, and it's not authentic. What I do is authentic. I write about the streets where I came from and the woods and things like that, and how the seasons change. And now the weather's pissing down all the time.
Do you get patriotic about English poetry because that's such a big part of your life?
I like English poetry too. That's what we're good at. And I'll tell you something about England. This is what happens about Britain, especially Britain. When I was growing up, the generation before who actually kept our freedom and gave it to us, when we took it and grew our hair and went dancing into the fields with it, they resented it. They didn't understand it. They hated it for us. And while they went on about, oh, well, we've lost the empire now, and that's the empire, and we're not even a military empire anymore, they didn't see that these undersized kids who'd grown up on rations went out into the world and took music and film and books and comedy and acting and created a third empire, an empire of creativity and love and fashion, and made the world love us for it. You know, after a war, and that hasn't. I don't think enough of the dust has cleared for people to realise we had a third empire. We've still got it. It's made of fashion and film and pop music. We're really good at it. On the whole of the island, and that fusion of Scot and Irish and English, it's perfect.
What about Welsh?
Because you've got, well, Welsh is good, yeah. No, the Welsh are all right because they were just Celt and Saxon basically. Because you've got the pragmatic of the Saxons, and then you've got the dreaminess. Basically, you've got the perfect combination. You've got Apollo and Dionysus. You know, you've got the moon and the sun, and that's what you need—a good balance. You can't just have the dream, or else you get Jim Morrison, and you can't just say, oh, yeah, he's all right, but. You need a clinician in there to clean it up a bit, you know. Otherwise, you've just got too much moon and not enough sun.
Have you got?
It gets all sort of. And you don't want that. You want something that's about 3 minutes long and sounds great and just fills your heart with, wow, that's great, and I can dance to it.
The perfect pop song. Yeah. Martin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing me around Wivenhoe.
Right. Okay. Okay. This is good.
Lovely. If you're looking to upgrade your garden tools, or perhaps find a great gift for somebody in your life, look no further than Nowaki. There's something for pretty much everyone in their range of high-quality Japanese gardening tools, kitchen and homeware. It's really important to me when I buy something like secateurs or a kitchen knife that I know it's going to last. I want something durable and well-made. Nowaki's range is certainly both of those things, and stylish to boot. You can get 10% off your Nowaki order by heading to nowaki.com and using the code DIGGINGWITHFLO at the checkout.